It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join News Director Paul David and News Editor Philip Catafamo as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics in Yavapai County that affect all our lives. And now here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. As always, it is great to have you in studio today. We're sitting down with Sedona again. Sedona-Oak Creek Canyon Transit Plan is the topic. I've got Assistant City Manager Karen Osburn. Welcome to studio.
Thank you.
Public Works Engineer Supervisor Stephen Craver is back in studio. Second time this year, right?
I think so, yeah.
I think last time you were here, we were getting ready to begin Uptown Sedona.
Correct, yeah.
The plan is available. It is actually going to be presented to the Sedona City Council. Is this still the same, October 23rd?
Yes.
Okay, at
3 p.m.
At 3 p.m. So anybody who wants to, I guess, comment on this, can they be at that meeting?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, and hear more about it. And then for information on what we're talking about today, and I'll mention this several times in case you don't get it the first time, sedonaaz.gov/transit is the website, and we'll get more into that as we go along. Before we jump into the complete transit plan that has been developed and is going to go before the council on October 23rd. Stephen, can you give me an update on how things are going in Uptown Sedona?
Sure, yeah, they're moving along. So we started construction in June. We started with focusing kind of on the new Jordan roundabout. That was basically completely paved before Labor Day. That was the goal, so we'd kind of have that operational before we had that kind of fall peak season traffic kicking off. So that's Jordan Roundabout's complete. They're now working on the north end of the project at the new roundabout, kind of north of Art Barn Road. Well, there'll be an extension there up to Schnebley Road, not Schnebley Hill Road. People will get kind of confused about that, but they are proceeding with that work now. There was a little bit of a delay with getting the ADOT permit, but that's all squared away now, and that's moving forward, and they're making improvements. Still on schedule to hopefully finish by end of June 2020.
Okay, and we announced, I think it was last week, the city put out a press release about you're looking for local artists to come up with art for. I love the fact that they've got the art in the roundabouts. I think it really is a nice touch. But you're looking for several pieces of art to go. At the two roundabouts in Uptown Sedona. There was also mention that maybe that 4-foot riser median that's going to go down the middle of the highway. Some art maybe along there, and then what's not chosen right away, I guess, goes into a pool, and then there's all that stuff out on 179 as well, right? Yeah,
so submissions for the art is due end of this month. So basically, I'll take all the submissions, we'll review those, and we'll choose hopefully some pieces that can be implemented with the Uptown project for the two new roundabouts, and then we'll have some artwork hopefully then available to potentially put on the 179 corridor for those remaining roundabouts.
Yeah, you can't be in Sedona without seeing art everywhere, right? Yeah. I mean, that's what Sedona is. It's all about the art, really. Okay, and the beauty. All right, so let's get into this transit plan. It was developed by, who was it developed by, Karen?
LSC is the consultant. They're out of Colorado.
Okay, all right, and they finished it up. It's here. It looks great.
Yeah.
I was looking over it.
We have a final draft, and that final draft will go to council next week.
Okay, and it's 330 pages long.
It is. It is a pretty comprehensive document, so there's a lot of data. It's very data-driven study. There were a lot of surveys done, business community, visitors, residents, and so all of that information is in there. So yeah, by the time, a lot of the beginning of the plan itself is that data that builds you up to why the recommendations were made the way they were.
Okay, all right. And the whole idea is to get less traffic on 89A, right, and help people get to where they need to be without necessarily getting behind the wheel of the car and driving down the road.
Right. The idea is that you come to Sedona, you park your car, and the rest of the time you're there, either transit or bike ped, other multimodal kind of opportunities, which is also part of that Sedona in Motion transportation project.
Okay. And with this, although it's going to help the tourists out a lot getting around, it should help the locals as well for recreation. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. When we first embarked upon this, it was a preliminary recommendation in the Transportation Master Plan we did a couple of years ago. And they were recommending kind of a twofold, one system that was oriented towards visitors and one system that was oriented towards residents. As we started to talk with residents and visitors about what their needs were, we found that there was a lot of overlap, and that truly their needs were so compatible that we ended up with one system that should serve visitors and residents both.
That's pretty neat. I think that's really neat. I can imagine that, yeah, it probably does overlap. I mean, why wouldn't it, right?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it overlap? Okay, so let's talk about the different phases. There's 4 phases here. What's the goal to have all 4 phases completed and ready to go?
Realistically, the entire implementation, if we did all 4 phases, is probably you're looking at 10 years. Phase 3 in particular is the canyon service, and that will require very extensive capacity studies and NEPA environmental assessments through the U.S. Forest Service, because that entire canyon, including the roadway itself, is all forest land. So even putting a bus stop anywhere in the canyon requires those environmentals and permission and permitting from the Forest Service. So that takes time.
Yeah, and money too. I know we've talked to the Forest Service about the NEPA process, and it can take, I want to say every 4 or 5 years or something like that. It takes a little while to get that stuff done.
And this one would be pretty robust. So.
And it's Oak Creek Canyon.
And it's Oak Creek
Canyon. It's a jewel in Arizona and the whole country.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. So that's why that's phase 3, just simply because there's so much work that needs to be done before we can implement that.
Now, do we get started on phase 3 right now so that by the time we get to phase 3, it's ready to go?
Exactly.
Okay.
So the idea is that as soon as, if council were to give the green light on this plan, then we would immediately, we've already begun conversations with the Forest Service about what those environmental assessments and the capacity analyses look like. But yeah, we would want to start those now so that as soon as we could get that implemented.
Sure, makes sense. All right, let's talk about phase 1, because if the council, again, this is all based on council approval, right?
Yes.
This could change. This transit plan could change. The council could say, well, we don't like this piece, this
Absolutely.
piece, this piece, so let's go back to the drawing board and get this figured out. So it could be even longer.
Right, and that's why the public comment is also important. I mean, there's been public comment throughout the entire, we've been probably 15, 16 months of work on this effort, but there is still this last opportunity to provide public comment to the council.
Okay, so what does phase 1 have to do? What's all about phase 1?
So phase 1 is what we're calling the core routes, and there are 3 core routes. One is a West Sedona route, one is an Uptown route, and then one is a 179 route. So right now, the Verde Links does come through West Sedona, it goes to Uptown, and then it goes on 179 as far as Poco Diablo. That's as far south as it goes. This would extend that leg all the way to the village of Oak Creek. And unlike the links, this would be a service that during peak periods would be in every 15-minute service, so that it was convenient enough, frequent enough for people to be able to get wherever they need to go quickly and easily.
Sure.
So those 3 routes would converge at a transit hub, which would kind of be the transfer station, and that would be somewhere around the Y area.
Okay.
We want to keep the buses out of the Y, so we want to put a transit hub there so that only the Uptown leg would need to go through the Y. We don't need any more congestion in the Y.
Sure. So where do you put it?
So we're looking right now at sites. There's not a lot. That area is pretty well built out,
Sure.
But we are assessing that at this point and looking for opportunities there.
Okay, so those are the 3 core routes we're looking at: West Sedona, 179, and Uptown Sedona.
Yes,
and Uptown Sedona is kind of being handled right now. I mean, with the reduction of left-hand turns in Uptown Sedona, I would hope traffic is going to move through there much faster.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, and we're hoping that, the more people who are willing to use transit and get on a shuttle, and the less cars that we can put there and in other parts of the community, particularly the trailheads, which I'll get to in a second, the better off for the traffic congestion.
Let's take our first break already.
Okay.
All right. Again, the website is sedonaaz.gov/transit. Assistant City Manager Karen Osburn in studio. Public Works Engineering Supervisor Stephen Craver. This is Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Start your journey toward better health with Ageless Touches Massage Therapy. Licensed massage therapist Richard Stevens uses the latest and best equipment to relieve scar tissue, electronic smog, and tinnitus. Ageless Touches does everything they can to work your issues down to the bone. Improve your path to better health with Ageless Touches Massage.
Award-winning Soundbites Grill is an entertainment restaurant located in uptown Sedona at the Hyatt Pinion Point Resort. Open for lunch and dinner, featuring fresh fish, all-natural hand-cut beef, even a full vegan menu. Family-friendly, open 11:30 to 9, late dining on Friday and Saturday. Soundbites Grill has some of the best views of the Sedona Red Rocks. Offers world-class entertainment, food, fun, and music.
Two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Welcome back to Countywide. We're talking about the Sedona-Oak Creek Canyon Transit Plan with Karen Osburn and Public Works Engineering Supervisor Stephen Craver. City Council is going to look at this on October 23rd at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in Council Chambers at City Hall. And then the website is sedonaaz.gov/transit. Before we jump back into Phase 1, the press release that you guys sent out, it's a 330-page report. And actually, now that I think about it and all the stuff that goes into this, that seems kind of small, actually. I'm sure there was tons of studies done, but if you get to the 29-page overview and then I guess chapter 13, but you've got an executive kind of a consolidation of it?
Yeah, given the how overwhelming 330 pages can be for a lot of people, we did focus them on certain portions of the plan itself. But if someone wanted a quick 24-page, and there's a lot of graphics and things in here, summary, we did put one out. It is on the website, and so you'll find that with the plan. And then we also have, this is a really great two-pager that really highlights all 4 phases, what they consist of, the budget estimates, the capital equipment needed, and so forth. And so this is another great thing. It's out on the website as well. Okay.
Let's jump back into Phase 1, ADA demand response.
Yeah, so once you have a fixed route system in your community, you're required also to provide paratransit or ADA type of response. So that would be a federal requirement once we have the 4 core routes or the 3 core routes implemented. So that would be part of Phase 1. And in addition to that, we've identified 4 trails that we would, from the transit hub, do shuttling during peak seasons to those trailheads. And the trailheads that's another piece that needs NEPA approval and Forest Service approval. Right now, without permits, you cannot have any kind of commercial transportation to trailheads. So the Forest Service, if they don't permit you, you can't take a taxi cab there, you can't take public transit. But these 4 trailheads, as we've been working with the Forest Service, are locations where a few years back, they did some capacity studies and identified a handful of trails as being appropriate for people to bring people to and drop off. And they have their certain limitations of how many times a day and how many people per trip. But we think we can start right away with Phase 1 with those 4. Phase 2 would propose that we look at other trailheads and then just do those NEPAs, do those capacity analyses in order to do those. And we're focused in really on the places that people want to go and the places where parking at the trailheads is a real problem, either within neighborhoods or, Dry Creek is a great example, Cathedral Rock, Bell Rock, where it's hard to find parking.
So this hub for the are we hoping the tourists will walk to the hub and then get on, or will there be parking for vehicles at this hub so they can take the shuttles out? How's that going to kind of work out?
We have contemplated, I mean, ideally we would have parking at the hub, particularly for locals who, or visitors who may be staying in an Airbnb that is off the main core route. So if you're in a hotel, most of those are on those core routes, so you can easily hop on a shuttle from your hotel, get to the transit hub, and then take a shuttle to the trailheads. But for residents and for visitors that may be out in neighborhoods, we are looking to try to accommodate some parking at the transit hub for that purpose.
Okay, all right. So the trails we're looking at is Jim Thompson, Huckabee, Little Horse, and Mezcal. And then in phase 2 it'd be Cathedral Rock, Soldier Pass. These are the really big ones too, right? Dry Creek, Mezcal, those are the really popular ones, I would imagine.
And those are the 3 that were identified from, you know, the surveys and things we did as being desirable places that people want to go, but also that have challenges with parking. But certainly as we go through the NEPA analysis with the Forest Service, we may identify others that also make sense to add, or maybe these don't make as much sense if the Forest Service wants to try to control how many people are at those destinations.
Okay.
So.
All right. So phase 1, we're hoping for 4 years. Phase 2, after the 4 years is up, we're going to get started on phase 2, hopefully. Phase 3, the OCC Oak Creek Canyon route, that we talked about a little bit at the beginning, but that is going to be probably the most challenging, I would imagine.
That'll be the most challenging and the longest to implement, I would assume, just based on all of the pre-work that needs to be done to identify the appropriate transit stop locations and, you know, where is it within the canyon that the Forest Service is comfortable with us bringing larger groups of people.
Sure, sure. And then phase 4 is the express services to Slide Rock. So that would be, well, probably every 15 minutes, a shuttle that would go up to Slide Rock, and that's its only stop is Slide Rock State Park. That's right. So then I guess you could have stops, several different stops, maybe in uptown Sedona where the bus could stop and people get on and then off you go again. Is there... You guys always seem to find more room, Stephen, in uptown Sedona for something. I don't know how you do it, but would there be something like that where there'd be bus stops? I guess there are tourist bus stops, right, in uptown already?
There are pull-out locations, so there are certainly opportunities there where you could have a bus stop on the main area in uptown. Again, I think the main idea would be to try to have people basically kind of wherever they're actually parked at. You know, if they're staying at a hotel in uptown, sure, you know, they could walk to that stop in uptown, one of those loading zones, and potentially get on a shuttle there if they're going up into Oak Creek Canyon. Yeah, yeah. Or wherever they are in town, just take a shuttle that leads to uptown, jump off that, jump on a different shuttle, and off you go. Yeah. The whole idea is to get traffic off the road. Yeah, and so part of this plan also calls for interceptor lots at the entry points to the city. So in West Sedona and the VOC, and then north, you know, the north part of the canyon coming southbound in Oak Creek Canyon. And, you know, ideally, people would park at those intercept lots before they even come into the city. They would be leaving their vehicle and getting on a shuttle. We were talking, wasn't Sedona talking about doing some different signage too on the different entryways to be a little more descriptive about the city? Is that Sedona, or maybe that's Flagstaff that's doing that? You may be referring to like travel time signage. Is that so we're working with ADOT on that. They are displaying travel times on I-17 right now. We're working with them to try to make sure that message really is meaningful to a driver. Is accurate. You know, so if you're heading southbound on I-17, if you're able to say that there's, you know, a 30-minute delay in Oak Creek Canyon, somebody that may just want to take the scenic route, maybe that's not worth them sitting in traffic for half an hour. So basically just informing the traveler so that they can make a decision in terms of whether they want to, you know, battle that traffic or just kind of keep on trucking on I-17 if their ultimate destination is Phoenix or something like that. Okay, all right. Let's take another break. Assistant City Manager for Sedona, Karen Osburn, in studio today. Public Works Engineering Supervisor, Stephen Craver. Council's going to look at this on October 23rd at 3 p.m. Website is sedonaaz.gov/transit. Countywide back in just a couple minutes.
Feng Shui artistry, the oldest form of development planning, today known as the art of placement. For 26 years, master Feng Shui educator, practitioner, artist, and author Caroline Patrick Bournet has used ancient rules of environmental, physical, and spiritual harmony to support clients' health, knowledge, creativity, and success. In mapping your home, you'll understand yourself. Better living is the gift of a lifetime. Change your life one room at a time. Schedule your Home Therapy 101 consultation conversation today.
Show your customers how much they matter to you. Follow up with a real card in just 60 seconds with Send Out Cards. Send Out Cards makes it easy for busy professionals to leave a memorable impression. Stay in touch with a simple one-step process from your phone or computer to their mailbox. Call Judy today at 928-202-2557. That's 928-202-2557.
Been hearing about the crazy benefits of CBD? Find out how CBD can help you at Sedona's #1 resource, CBD Sedona. Come in for a free consultation and let our trained medical staff help you find the perfect product for you. Pain-relieving salves, full-spectrum oils, honeys, teas, cookies, and even CBD for pets. Ready to feel fantastic? Come on by CBD Sedona today.
Metaphysics. What does it mean? It's a branch of philosophy, literally beyond the science of matter. Sedona's University of Metaphysics studies the ultimate nature of existence, reality, and experience. Join 14,000 graduates in over 120 countries, helping others in counseling, coaching, ministry, and much more. The University of Metaphysics is here to serve the best in you so you can serve the best in others. universityofmetaphysics.com.
Welcome back to Countywide. We've got just a few minutes left in the program. Let's talk cost. Now, this has been a very punch list. This has been very punch list, has it not? There's a lot more detail to this, but again, if you go to sedonaaz.gov/transit, you can look at the whole thing. The whole thing is there, so you can look at it. And again, the Sedona City Council is going to talk about it at 3 p.m. October 23rd. So I wonder how busy it's going to be for this one in the council chambers. You got enough room?
I hope so. I think so.
Yeah. You know. So let's facts and figures is on page 2. Annual operating costs and ridership, 2.58 million annual passenger trips. That's a lot.
Yeah, and that's at full implementation. So that's all 4 phases.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, I mean, at full implementation, you're looking at annual operating costs of about $6.5 million. But, you know, this is a very robust system and a robust proposal. And whether or not, you know, we'll end up doing every piece of this, you know, I think that remains to be seen as we move forward with working out some of the finer details. But not all of that funding is going to be coming from the city of Sedona. So the proposal is, you know, as the Lynx operates now, it's heavily subsidized by the Federal Transit Authority, FTA dollars, $53.10 and $53.11. We would propose that some of that same funding would be used for a system like this. And there are grants, and certainly there are partnerships. So Sedona proper, so the municipal boundaries are one piece of this, but this is proposed to go into Coconino County, into Yavapai County, to Slide Rock. So there are definitely going to be partners involved in any kind of implementation that we do.
And there's got to be all kinds of funds, grants and stuff like that you can apply for to get stuff like this going. Yep. We seem to really like the road grants over the last several years. You can see a lot of road projects going on. So there's probably funding for that as well. Okay, so $6.5 million. It's just chump change. But then again, like you said, you know, the different entities tend to supply funds for that. I mean, Cat and Lynx doesn't run on its own, and just Cottonwood pays for it.
That's
I think Sedona pays for it.
Yeah, and Clarkdale and the other Yavapai County contributes to that system, as well as, like I said, a large portion of that is funded by federal dollars, and we intend to do the same thing.
In the end, this could all be implemented, or in the end, some of it could be taken out and not be used at all.
Yeah.
And maybe the council will say, well, no, let's not go with that, but this looks like this chunk. But overall, this is an overall picture, right? And that's what the city wanted, was an overall picture of the cost and how can we alleviate congestion within the city and get people where they need to be. Yep. All right. Anything else we need to make sure we know?
I think that's at 3 o'clock next Wednesday.
October 23rd. All right. There's the punch list, people. There is the punch list. Sedona-Oak Creek Canyon Transit Plan. It's at sedonaaz.gov/transit. Karen, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you. Stephen, good to have you back.
Thank you, Paul.
That's today's Countywide. As always, thank you so much for watching and listening, and we'll talk to you again next time.